Today we're talking about making marriage work. Making marriage work. Particularly the conversations that we have before we get married and the conversations we have while we're married. Well, I appreciate you taking this time. I'm talking to different couples and asking them some of their keys and secrets to making their marriages work so long. And I don't know anybody in my life who's been married longer than you and Daddy have. So what are your golden keys to making that work with that man for 60 years?
You know what? I don't even know if there's anything special that I would have to lay my head on and say, this is exactly what we did. I think the main thing was trying to understand and figure him out and know when to hold and when to fold. And I wasn't one that argued a lot. I heard my dad arguing to himself because my mother wasn't arguing back, but it was just that grumble all the time.
Right.
And I was so used to that, I didn't want that. And I heard him talk about his mother and father fighting, physically fighting and stuff like that. So in the early days, trying to get to know him, if I had something to tell him, if we were, on the same page with something, I had to pick my times to discuss it. There were times when he might be hearing, but he wasn't listening.
Right.
And he didn't hear what you said. It might be something I didn't agree with him about. I would not discuss it at that time till I know that I got his attention and he would be hearing something I was saying. Or sometimes I would write it down on paper. My thoughts on the subject. This is early on, and I would put it on his pillow, and I've got a lot of good reaction from that sometimes, because when he had a time to sit and think and read something, I think it sunk in better. And then a lot of times he would approach me to discuss whatever it was we were arguing about. Not really arguing, but disagreeing on. And that worked pretty well. Then as we got older and everything, I learned to figure him out and know when to talk to him about stuff and when not to talk to him about stuff. And I knew when his attention span was on what I was saying and not just letting it go in one ear and out the other. And some things I had to pick my battles with too. Are they worth discussing or arguing about? Or you just have to sometimes pick your battles and see what is worth fighting over. And he had a lot of good qualities. He understood that he could make money but didn't know how to handle it.
Right.
And he would make it and give it to me and tell me to take care of it, because he knew I would not just whittle it away. I would always have a nest egg. When push come to shove, I could always someplace where I could go and get something and carry us over. He depended on that. And sometimes I think it was too much. It let him depend on me too much. Because if something happens to me, he will be at a loss.
Right.
And I'm going to try to keep a lot of things in writing so it wouldn't be hard for you or Cheryl to figure out.
Right, exactly.
To help him. Yeah.
But that's a very interesting point that you made, though, because that was an agreement that you all had, that I'm going to give you this and you do this with it. You do your thing with it. That was an agreement. Would you say that was an agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
I would say that was an unwritten agreement, yeah. I think he assumed how I handled things, that he liked that way, that he didn't have that burden of or that responsibility, and it was always good that he could trust me. He could trust me that I wasn't going to go run down the store and buy me a pair of shoes instead of putting it aside.
Right.
I mean, truthfully.
Right.
Yeah. And he knows, well, I know she ain't going to throw it away. She's going to save it or put it somewhere in a sock or something. Because the reality of it all was that it happened a lot of times that we needed something, and I had managed to have something or find a way to do it. So he had results. So that's why he trusted me to do that.
And you still doing that to this day, pulling rabbits out of the hat from nowhere. Right.
Yeah, I tried to do that. And sometimes it's not a lot, but I mean, it's just enough to get you over till you can do something else.
It's always exactly what is needed in that moment.
Right, at that time.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
You always have that.
I remember one time, when he was working in, it was when I was pregnant with Cheryl. And him and Bert and them, they used to go out on weekends, because there were periods when he was unstable. He would drink his money up and stuff like that. And I had to make sure that records. And I had to make sure the rent was going to be paid, and we weren't going to put out on the street, and my kids were going to be taken care of. So that was always my goal. And he always was a hustler, out there, and always had some money. He always had some money. But see, what he did one day, he got drunk, and he had some money, and he stuck it under the mattress. But he didn't remember that he did that, okay? So I don't know how long it had been under there, but I was home because I was having Cheryl, and I decided to change the bed and turn the mattress over, and here was this money. I don't even remember how much it was. It was a couple $100.
Wow.
How much? He listening.
You know he listening. You know he is listening, just like his mother.
He's in the family room, and I'm sitting on the steps, Bobby.
Unbelievable.
All of this. I'm on the steps going upstairs with the phone, and he is in the family room.
Amazing.
And I'm not talking that loud.
Grandma Aggie.
Yeah.
That's Grandma Aggie.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So you found the money under the mattress.
The mattress. Yeah. And he was so happy because that was when we really needed it because I wasn't working every day then. I was on maternity leave. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So see, I always try to keep something. You know, I always try to save something. But I would say that one of the biggest things now that we're older and been married so long,
right,
that you just learn some things. It's just like things that used to upset me and make me mad or want to fuss about. I just forget about them. Like him pulling out the drawer, get something out and not closing the drawer back or not putting the top on the. I just overlook that, put it on and keep on moving. Just things like that that don't make no sense now.
Right.
To even get upset about stuff like that. So
you've taught me that over the years too. Right.
Yeah, we're going downhill now, and the only thing I want to do is to have a nice, peaceful, happy day every day.
Right.
And be kind and gentle to each other. And to other people, too.
That's so true.
Okay.
All right. Love you, Mom. Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Bye-bye.
Love you, too.
Bye.
All righty. Bye-bye.